Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. The paid request this time for Nate. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of reviews, topics, reactions, commentaries, reviews, re-reviews, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, this is for the 1932 film Freaks, which I had heard of and I had seen pictures of, but I had never seen the full film. And technically, no one has, because it's directed by Tod Browning, who had done Dracula, the Bela Lugosi film, which I do like that movie. The thing with the Universal monster movies, I didn't grow up with them like other people did, but I do like Frankenstein. I do like the Wolf. Well, I like Dracula and Frankenstein. The Wolfman. I like the makeup of Lon Chaney Jr. The film is there. Not a fan of the early, well, Lon Chaney Sr.'s Phantom Opera, I didn't mind. The 30s, 40s Phantom Opera, I really did not like. Creature from the Black Lagoon, I remember being disappointed in, although again, I do like the design. I like that more than the movie. Really enjoyed The Invisible Man from the 40s. That was actually one of my favorites of that era. But yeah, Tod Browning had done Dracula. Very successful. Pretty much had carte blanche to do what he wanted. This is a follow-up and kind of killed his career. Because after this, he only did like 3 other films. And one of them was a seemingly lower tier movie with Bela Lugosi called Mark of the Vampire. I forget what the other 2 were, but definitely nothing as prominent as Dracula. Because this got a lot of shit when it came out. It was, movie should be banned, and this director should never work again. And you watch it now, and it's, number 1, interesting. Number 2 is actually kind of pretty damn progressive. And number 3, I would not even call this a horror movie. I don't think it's a horror movie. I would call it a revenge movie. Because the freaks are the good guys. And that was cool. That was refreshing. That was interesting to see. It was the French, I believe she was, trapeze artist, Cleopatra, and the strong man named Hercules. Because it takes place in this traveling carnival of these sideshow performers. Now, I said before that kind of no one saw the full movie because I did not know it's only an hour and 2 minutes. And the version I saw had an ending that I guess was lost for a while, but they found and they were able to put it back in, so the video quality is a bit lower. But yeah, an hour and 2 minutes, give or take. Maybe an hour and 4, so hour to hour 4 minutes. Because I guess Tod Browning made the film, and the MGM executive said, fuck this. Took the movie, took like 30 fucking minutes out, or more actually. Took more out, and then shoot this scene. We'll shoot this and this and this, and make it, you know, now it's an hour and change. I think that does affect the film. Like the very end, well, not the ending, you could tell there had to have been something more to this. Because there's a point where it fades and it just abruptly cuts to another scene, and it seems like there's something important that was missed there. Yeah, you could tell there's chunks missing, and that does affect the film. Because it's like, okay, it's not that it's not confusing. It's just you still have that feeling this is not a complete film, Sally. Now you have these 2 little people who were siblings at the time. Well, not at the time, they were siblings, brother and sister. And they've started a couple, they were in the background in The Wizard of Oz later on and other stuff. Here they play a husband and wife, but they were able to do it because there's no kissing or any other scenes. It's just I love you, hugging. Because you have a brother and sister playing husband and wife, it could be pretty weird. But again, they don't do kissing, none of that. And the little guy is in love, infatuated with the trapeze artist, even though he's with his loved one, again, played by his sister, but in the movie, supposedly loved one. And I guess they're German. I didn't mind either one, the little person and the little guy, little girl, as actors. I thought they did fine, and they were. I thought the girl, the lady, she was very patient with her. I don't know if husband, but boyfriend, however you want to put it. Pretty understanding, because it's like, what the hell are you doing? Thought you love me, but you want to be with this girl? Like, what the fuck? But maybe it was 1930s. I guess they were just much more understanding back then. I don't know. And again, Tod Browning used actual performers. So you had actual conjoined twins, a guy with no legs, a guy with no arms, a lady that used her feet to do stuff, a guy who's so thin they kind of call him the human skeleton. I know it's not the appropriate term, but back in the day you would call them pinheads. And people back then in the movie theater saw this and they were horrified. Which is, you think about just shitty behavior, but that's the sad truth of history. A lot of people back then had really shitty behavior. And you watch this now, I'm like, what's the fuck is all the ruckus? But again, I'm watching 2022, not 1932. So I didn't wait. So what 70, is that 90 years ago? I'm trying to think trying to do math. 70 years would be 2002. So, yeah, maybe 90 years? Yeah, 90 years ago. Damn. So yeah, this movie's almost 100 years old. But yeah, back then, they just, we may be a fucked up species, but I do think we went a little bit up. Maybe not a lot, but a little bit. Because, like, what's the big deal with, but, again, people back then had a different mentality. But I like that Tod Browning, they were sympathetic, and you feel sorry for them. These kids are called monsters because of the way they look. The stuttering guy is married to one of the conjoined twins, which is a headache for him because he's trying to talk to her, but the other's talking. Hans, the character, the little guy, ignores his love interest for this other trapeze lady. And this is where I'm getting at with the stuff that was cut. Because all of a sudden, there's this bearded lady. And I don't know if we saw this bearded lady before. I could be wrong. But it's like, oh, they're having a baby, and the bearded lady gives birth. I think she's with the human skeleton guy. And I think the only time we see her is at the dinner scene later. And we never see the baby. We never see what the baby looks like. There's no shot of anything. I don't even know if there's any moment of showing the baby around, like not showing it, but it's like the baby gets completely forgotten from the story. I guess it's just to show, hey, yeah, they do what you and anybody else does. Have a baby, and they're there to congratulate the new mother. And that's kind of the first half of this hour and change movie, is just seeing how they interact with each other. And then But it gets to the middle, then you get a little bit of the plot, which is Cleopatra is going to lead little guy Hans around by his nose. Yeah, you like me, huh? Because he knows Hans is rich. Which I'm like, if Hans is so rich, why is he here in this circus performing place? Like, at the very, very end, it shows him in this big old mansion with a butler. If he's so rich, why the hell is he here? I guess he likes to perform, but I swear he was complaining that he doesn't like to be laughed at. You have a rich place. Why are you here? I don't really know if they answer that. But Hercules and Cleopatra find out Hans is rich, so I'm going to lead him around, try to get him to marry me, and then we'll poison him, and then we'll get his fortune. Now, they skip the actual wedding, which I think that would be an important part. So yeah, I don't know if that was stuff that was filmed and was also cut out, or what the deal is. Because it seems like he's entranced with her, then all of a sudden they're married. I mean, when the fuck did that happen? But she's just playing him like a fiddle. And I thought the acting and the performers and everybody did fine. Like I say, it was kind of refreshing, Tod Browning using these folks as sympathetic, not monsters, not evil. Again, she has this plan that they're going to poison him and get his money, and then they have this dinner. And this one, again, I don't know if there's this because of the missing footage. Cleopatra, I was called Cleo, like Miss Cleo. Miss Cleo, she's stupid. Like, she's fucking dumb in her plan. Because she fucking, in her plan, like, as soon as they start implementing it, then they'd have this dinner, and then she pretty much just laughs at him, gets drunk, kisses Hercules right in front of everybody. I'm like, you guys are just fucking dumb. Like, Hans is right there. Everybody's right there seeing this, witnessing this. I guess just to show how cocky they are and how, whatever, we can do whatever we want. They're not being very secretive on this plot. Just drunk laughs. And then when the others don't quite understand it yet, but Hans does, and he's the guy that you're trying to steal the money from. He could divorce your ass, lady, but whatever. The other group at the dinner saying, we accept her, one of us. Gooble gobble, one of us. We accept her, one of us. And she gets pissed about that, embarrassed the fuck out of Hans. Again, and then that's where they find out he's been getting poisoned. Of course, they figure out who's doing it. Hans doesn't die. Oh, this is spoilers starting now. Spoilers. I've been spoiling it, but for those who want to know the third, spoilers. Heavily spoilers now. They find out. And this is what I mean, like, this is not to be a horror film. This is a revenge movie. It's this group who... And that's the thing, it would have been nice to see more of these folks interacting with Hans. More, whether it be the pinheads or the lady that eats with her feet, or the guy with no arms. More of them interacting with Hans and like showcase Hans as the toast of this group. Like, he's the guy everyone trusts and likes, and he's friendly with everybody, and you see scenes of him interacting with this guy and this person, this person, this person, this person. It's mainly him interacting with Cleo, or the little girl that, not girl, the little lady that was his love interest. Because I think that would have helped even more of like, yeah, but just because he's one of us, you try to hurt one of us, try to poison, kill one of us, we don't take revenge. And so it's a stormy night, and nicely shot scenes in the rain, and one has a knife in his mouth and he's crawling in the mud because he has no arms, and others are coming with a knife, and I just the way they've naturally look, and the way with that black and white, like they were back in the day, and the storm. It's not music being too over the top to ruin the moment. It creates a nice sense of, oh shit, you guys are fucked. One pulls a gun out, one pulls a knife, one pulls a candlestick, no, it's not Clue. And some stuff happens. This is where the movie kind of went with me. I don't mind the film. It was nice to watch once, because it's a film I had always heard of. I don't think I would ever watch it again, but it was nice. For historical purposes, if you're at all interested in this genre, it's nice to watch once. It's not bad. It's just, this had to been the most hurt in the cutting by this MGM dickhead, wherever the fuck he was. And it says 90 minutes, could have been, who knows how long it was originally. And that footage is completely lost. The strong man's fighting a guy. I fear it's the stuttering guy. One of them throws a knife and hurts the strong man, Hercules. And then we don't see him again. Now, I read up somewhere that supposedly there's a scene that, as much as they can show in 1932, so it'd be subtle in the fact of, you get the idea, which is the right way to do this, that they castrate the guy. Which I don't need to see that, and the guy deserves it, okay, like, that'd be worthwhile to see it, how they work around the parameters of what you could show in 1932 to make it creepier. And then the lady, Cleo, they're going after her. She gets to a tree, screams, ah! And then you just see a fade into what looks like the very beginning and very ending. Seems like, I don't know if that was the stuff MGM guys shot to fill in, or if it was always meant to be in there, but the fade is just, all this shit we cut out, Hugo. Here's the last bits of it. It's like, it should have been a longer chase, a more suspenseful chase, and her trying to get, and then maybe going through woods and crawling, and there's one over here, and there's one over here, and there's one behind her. Maybe one goes around and cuts her from the front. It's just very hard, abrupt fade into this last bit, which we see at the very beginning, hinted at here at the end. Is the reveal that she's been turned to this kind of duck-like creature where she can barely talk, and she has no legs, and her face is fucked up. I would say there's a lot better version of that than Tusk, with Kevin Smith's dumbass movie. And then this footage that seems a lot rougher, so I think this was lost footage that they found, where it's Hans, I guess he's upset about what happened and what they did to Cleo. Because then his love interest says, it's not your fault. And then they hug, and then she goes, I love you. Which is nice to have in there to have closure to the whole Hans story, because the thing is, I don't think, like, Hans didn't go after anybody. At least I'm assuming, because we didn't see him, unless it was any of the cut footage. But at the same time, again, because of this stuff missing, it gives a... You know, a movie has flow, and it kind of does like this type of clunky. And I'm not going to blame Tod Browning, the director, because if, let's say 30 minutes of the film was cut, that's a lot of fucking footage. And I don't know what all the footage is. Probably no one does. And that's a shame. So it's only an hour and change. When I saw it was on YouTube, I don't know if it's there now. I mean, it's pretty... Now that I wonder... We're getting into this era where, from what I understand, 95 years after something, it becomes public domain. I wonder if a lot of this stuff back in the 30s will become public domain. Like, I don't know. I don't know how that works, if there's a way to just, to be able to stop it. Just like all these movies back to the day, I do wonder, like Three Stooges. Is there something in contract that they can never go public domain? Or there's a couple episodes, but I'm like, would this movie go into public domain after a few years? I don't know how it all works. I really don't. If there's a lawyer or something out there, please feel free to tell me. But yeah, I think calling this a horror film is a bit misleading. Unless you hate freaks and this horrifying. Nah. It was nice to see. I like the natural performers. I'm not horrified, I'm more intrigued. I don't know how else to put it. I thought Hans and his sister, who played his love interest, I thought they did a nice enough job. The stuttering guy, was there. I didn't really get much of who the guy really was. And you don't really get a whole lot of what the other characters are, to be fair. Like I said, I do like the black and white photography of back in the day. I think it does create an interesting feel and atmosphere. The ending, like I said, I think that got hurt the most. And I think that does affect the film, sadly. Where you want to see more, you want to see where this is going, and then it's like, oh shit. This is like a lead up, and then the payoff isn't. Other than that reveal of Cleopatra. But like I said, if it's a great piece of history, it's definitely worth a watch just for that. And I'm glad to at least finally have seen it. I still prefer Tod Browning's Dracula. But, again, it's only an hour. It wasn't boring. I'll say it wasn't boring. And, I wish the MGM and other people didn't fuck with it. Would have been nice to see the full version. And older films, I'm not against it. I mean, I liked Metropolis. Granted, I prefer the Giorgio Moroder version of Metropolis with that 80s music in it, but I prefer that version, but I like the original Metropolis as well. I don't mind the original Phantom of the Opera. I don't love it, but I liked it. I said, I love the Three Stooges. I love Red Skelton. Older Abbott and Costello movies, Beat Frankenstein, Invisible Man, Buck Privates. Like everything, just depends. Same with movies today or movies in the 80s. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.